Hi, and welcome to Brewing TV. Howdy, this is Brewing TV. I'm your co-host, Jake Keeler.
And I'm your other co-host, Michael Dawson. Brewing TV set out to fill a gap in the homebrewing community. Let me ask a question. How long do we want this thing to be? In the coming weeks, look for us to travel all over the country telling the stories of homebrewers near and far.
Are you tired of watching crappy homebrewing videos on YouTube? Well, then you've come to the right spot. Brewing TV promises to keep things top shelf.
Boo! I can't do this.
And not just from a specific kind of homebrewer. We're going to try to look at everybody from the person that makes extract brews on their stovetop to the person that's got a top-tier Blickman system.
Semi-pro, all grain in your garage.
Right.
Competition wonks to strictly subsistence brewing. This is the first episode. We're going to visit with the guys from Fulton Brewing, 4 homebrewers who dreamed big and turned their garage brewery into a craft brewery.
We're going to take some time to get our hands dirty and do some brewing and talk about what might happen through any given brew day. I love you guys. I love home brewing. It's just awesome. And finally, we're going to end the episode with a look at the Upper Mississippi Mashout, which is one of the nation's largest homebrew competitions. We're going to sit down and talk to the one and only Gordon Strong, president of the BJCP.
Full of semi-competent material that you will probably fast forward through unless you're our mothers. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. All for brew and brew for all.
Oh yeah, that too.
It's all good.
It's all good.
It's all good.
It's all good.
Timing's everything.
What? This might be a familiar sight for some of you homebrewers out there. You've got to get the clutter out of the way just to find your brew system. Things are no different for the 4 guys behind Fulton Brewing Company.
So all the water we have to...
In the Fulton neighborhood of southwest Minneapolis, this garage is known as the Home Sweet Home Brewery. This morning, Brewing TV is tagging along while Fulton brews a quality control batch of an upcoming release called the Libertine.
We didn't really know where the beer fit within beer style guidelines, so we just called it the Libertine. It's an imperial red is the closest thing. You could also call it an English barley wine.
Ryan Petz, Jim Diley, Brian Hoffman, and Peter Grand have been homebrewing together for about 5 years, proving along the way that 4 heads are better than 1.
My wife was my girlfriend at the time, bought me a Mr. Beer kit. You know, I'm sure a lot of homebrewers can relate to that. And she probably opened up a can of worms she wished she could close. But that kind of started the process, and we got out of school. The 3 of us started brewing, and then we quickly needed Peter, our 4th member, because he's a contractor, carpenter, can build us what we need to do, and more importantly, fix what we break.
We started out brewing in Jim's single car garage and basement. And when we got to doing 10-gallon batches and we got this system going, it was just a little bit too tight, and then going down the steps of his, 20-something southwest Minneapolis house, which has treads that are about 8 inches,
Everybody
You're
can
carrying like
10 gallons of 200
degree wort going down the stairs, and all of a sudden it's springtime, your shoes are wet. You take one of those once or twice.
You
only
understand the
have to
fear
do
of
that.
God. Yes.
You only have to do that once or twice, and we're like, we gotta find some other way of doing this.
With 4 dudes running around the brewery, we wanted to know, who's in charge here?
You know, the fun thing is people always ask, so who's the brewmaster, And ultimately, it comes down to who's ever there at the time. We've kind of worked out a system that we know where we are in the process or know where to find the information. And it's definitely a collaborative effort.
Last year, the guys decided to take the big step and make their brewing a business.
Every home brewer who brews a batch, tastes it, and eventually thinks it's a good beer, daydreams about turning it into a business. We're no different. We talked about it pretty much from that very first day we were brewing in your garage. Kept working on it, and here we are almost a year later, It's still the night job, I guess, but we, I guess, could say successfully turned it into a business, and now it's up to the point where we have to see if we can make it a full-time gig for somebody.
Fulton's beers begin here, as 5 or 10 gallon batches. Once they have the beer that they want, it's off to the big game. They brew their commercial beers on a 20-barrel system at Sand Creek Brewing Company in Black River Falls, Wisconsin.
Talking about scaling it up to a commercial level, adjusting the recipe is fairly straightforward. What you have to keep in mind is that the process side of it, where you homebrew, might be considerably different than the commercial brewery you move to, just depending on the equipment that brewery has. So we had to make a few adjustments just in terms of our process.
A home brewer, when you're either using a 5-quart kettle on the stove or a converted keg, you don't take into considerations weight necessarily. But when you step up a 10-gallon batch of, say, our barley wine, the Ambassador, you have to be thinking, can the mash tun even hold that much weight? And so that's kind of those limiting factors too that you play with.
After fermentation at Sand Creek, Fulton kegs the beer and it's brought back to the Twin Cities. You can find their brews on tap at about 50 bars and restaurants. Their flagship is an IPA called Sweet Child Divine. The guys expect to release their second year-round beer, a blonde, sometime this summer.
Well, we kind of always joke that if the business turns out successful, great. If it fails, we're just going to have a big party. And really, the bigger it fails, the bigger the party gets, because we'll have more beer to drink.
You guys on the website, liquidation.
Yeah, don't worry, you're all invited if that happens.
No matter where Fulton Brewing Company, the business, goes from here, Fulton Brewing Company, the social circle, will keep on brewing.
To me, I'd say home brewing is taking something from start to finish, taking that creative aspect, but also bringing it through the fulfillment. And when you get a great beer, that's something to be proud of, and it's great to show someone or let someone try it and have them react to it and watch their reaction.
It's sort of a creative outlet. It's a chance to express yourself in terms of the recipe you want to create. That's what I think, well, probably what all of us enjoy about it is being able to not be limited, but you can brew whatever you want.
It's about the friendship side. I mean, it's great to get that call at work on a Monday, being like, "What are we gonna brew this weekend?" And going to the store and ultimately sitting around over a pint, talking about what recipe we're gonna create and how we're gonna change it from last time. And so it's that camaraderie amongst your fellow brewers and also just hanging out.
It's great to hear you say the start to finish thing, because you need to transfer those couple beers and get them carbonated.
Friendship?
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey everybody, it's time to brew. Today I'm gonna make a American wheat beer recipe. I'm gonna do a 5-gallon extract batch, and we're actually gonna do a partial boil. And the reason I'm doing that today is I've only got about 3 hours, and then I gotta get back, pick up the kid, do a bunch of stuff. So on a day like that, I just go back to making extract batches and partial boils, because I can do it on my stovetop. I don't need to go outside. It's pretty easy. So I've got the water, 3 gallons, coming to a boil right now. We're going to use liquid malt extract wheat, 6 pounds, put that in for the full 60 minutes. We're also going to put in an ounce of Willamette for the full 60 minutes. And then with 15 minutes left, I'm going to throw in an ounce of Palisade for some aroma. And that's it, It's springtime right now, so this will be ready in time for summer. Perfect to have a wheat beer around. Can't beat it. Drop them down in there. Now you want to stir them in nice and good, because this is usually when a boil over can happen. The chicken just told me that it is time to add my Palisade hops. The boil's going for about 45 minutes. There's 15 minutes roughly left in the boil. I'm gonna put these in for some aroma, and after that, we'll just wait until the boil's over after 60 minutes, and we'll be done with this part. We're at the end of the brew day. I just pitched the yeast, Y Yeast American Wheat 1010. I'm gonna let it sit in the bucket for about 10 to 14 days. Transfer it to a secondary vessel, probably a carboy or a keg, haven't decided yet. And then let it sit for another 2 to 3 weeks, and then it should be good to go. So I'm gonna take it in here into the fermentation chamber and say goodnight to it. Night-night, little guy.
Please make sure you're filling out your score sheets descriptively, giving lots of description about what you're actually sensing in that beer.
What is this? A room full of beer geeks, all wearing name tags, and hundreds of bottles of beer and mead.
The proscription is great if you can figure it out.
Glasses of every color of brew imaginable, score sheets, judge assignment lists, and lots of noses in cups.
That's okay as long as you're giving people some clear sense of like what you're actually sensing in that beer.
It can only mean one thing. A homebrew contest is in full effect. Welcome to the first round of judging at the Upper Mississippi Mashout, one of the nation's largest homebrew competitions. This year, organizers received more than 900 entries.
They come from all parts of the country. We had one from Stockholm this year sent in. We had one from, I thought, Argentina, something like that. But it's all over the U.S., many entrants. We usually get 200, 230, 240 people that actually enter, separate people or brew teams that send stuff in.
So if you pull all the 14 Cs and all the 19 Cs, those will all go into one category.
We break up the category. We have so many entries, we break up the categories, the BGCP categories. There's 28 usually BGCP categories, and there's so many of the subcategories, like American Pale Ales are always huge, Russian Imperial Stouts are huge, so we break those off into their own individual categories.
The event is sanctioned by the Beer Judge Certification Program. Since 1985, the BJCP's mission has been to promote beer literacy and appreciation. The group certifies and ranks beer judges. Gordon Strong is its president and highest-ranking judge, a Grand Master 5.
Oh, I just love seeing the homebrewers out entering and producing great beer and mead, and then seeing the judges come out and be able to pick out the best ones. I mean, that's why we all do this, the camaraderie and the fun, and people getting good feedback and helping them make better beer. There's so much to learn from other people, and people are generally really willing to share. So if you're just brewing your own beer and you're, judging it yourself, you're just judging to your own tastes. I mean, you have to get out and around and get other opinions to know whether what you're doing is good.
It's a 0 to 50 score. Usually we have sort of a gentleman's, Piats, 12, 13? Lucky 13. But if something really warrants it, that's not an absolute floor. And remember, it's no shame to use the 40s when things are really good. So, don't feel constrained to the 30s.
There are currently more than 3,000 active judges in the program. Collectively, they've tasted 500,000 beers at nearly 4,000 competitions. That's a lot of little glasses of beer. As a judge, you look at the key components: appearance, aroma, flavor, overall impression, and of course, any flaws or off flavors.
It seems daunting at first, but you just sit down, you get into it. When you first start writing out a score sheet, you're going to be really thin with your descriptors, but as you move on, it gets much better, and the best descriptions are very pointed and direct and not flowery and poetic, because you want to get the most information you can in the shortest period of time.
I got in last night, took today off of work, so this is actually a vacation for me, and I even texted my wife. She's like, "How's the day going?" Like, "This is awesome. This is so much better than work."
Certified Judge Brian Joas is a member of the Beer Barons Club out of Milwaukee. He brewed for a while on his own, learning from personal experience and the literature that was out there.
Never had any inclination to want to do competitions, enter or judge competitions really, but I got kind of hooked up with a club and got got to know a lot of other homebrewers. I just started learning so much, and I started talking. I was like, oh yeah, you should start doing some beer judging. And I thought, I was like, I don't know about that. I was like, well, I'll take the classes because I want to learn more about it. And then kind of like, well, this is kind of cool. Actually, this might be fun. And then, I started judging. And, of course, Nat just got right into it because, like, how can you beat that? You're judging some beers, criticizing, learning, hanging out with other homebrewers all day long and just talking. It's great fun.
After a long weekend of judging, the winners were announced. Bronze, silver, and gold medals were presented during a banquet at Summit Brewing Company. Many of the winners were on hand to claim their prizes and possibly meet the person who judged their beer.
When you get a really good example, and particularly if you can then go find the person afterwards who made it, and you can interact with them, talk to them, say, yeah, I really enjoyed it, tell me about what you did. So the judges can learn something back from it as well.
If you're a home brewer, it's probably one of the best ways to not only learn to be a better brewer, but also meet some of the better brewers, more knowledgeable brewers. And if you enjoy home brewing, you're going to love talking to people about home brewing. And that's really all we do is judge beers, talk beers, and drink beers. So.
How's my beard?
Looks good.
All right. Hey, thanks for tuning in. That's the first episode of Brewing TV. Big thanks to our guests, the guys from Fulton Brewing, and everybody at the Upper Mississippi Mashout, the competition organizer Kristen England and Gordon Strong. And thanks to Keeler for hosting the Brew Day.
No problem. If you're interested in finding out about that recipe, go to the recipes link on brewingtv.com. We'd like to take a minute to thank our sponsors, Northern Brewer and the Brewing Network. You'll see links to their sites right on the website. Check them out, support their causes.
Spend lots of money.
Sure.
And tune in next week for more Brewing TV.
That's right. Till then, have a beer. Cheers.
All for brew,
brew for all.
Well, that's it. First episode of Brewing TV in the can.
You can expect the very best of potty humor from the two of us.
We're experts.
We're experts. Okay.